Okay, in your packet, go ahead and find 6-6. This sheet is already filled out, but I'm just going to go over it a little bit. This is finding percents mentally, and on the back are weighted average notes, and we will go over those notes as well. So how to find the percent of a number mentally. If you don't have a calculator and you want to figure out a percent of something, you're at a store and there's a sale, or you have to leave a tip at a restaurant, or a tip when you're getting your hair cut. This is a quick and easy way to do that without having to pull a calculator out. So for 10%, to find 10% of a number, instead of multiplying the 0.10 times the number, you could just move the decimal left one place. So to find 10% of anything, let's say that I had a $120 pair of boots that I was going to buy, and they're 10% off. You start at the back, you move the decimal one place to the left, and that would be $12 that I would be saving. Or you wanted to leave a 10% tip, which is kind of low, you would move the decimal to the left one, and that would be your tip. For the next several, you'll be able to use that 10% of moving it one to the left, and for 20, 30, and 40, you would then just multiply by 2, 3, or 4. So you find 10%, you move it one to the left. So if I'm doing 20% of 60, I'm going to move it one to the left and times it by 2. A lot of times people will leave about a 20% tip sometimes, because it's an easy one to find when you just move the decimal one and then double it. For 30%, so if something's 30% off and it's $60, you would move the decimal one place to the left. That's your 6, times it by 3, you'd be saving $18. That's not what you're paying, it's what you're saving. That would be what you would be saving, or if you're doing a tip of some sort, that's what the tip would be. Finding 10%, for 40, you would find 10 and then multiply by 4, so I move it one to the left, multiply by 4. To find 50%, most people know how to do this. You would just cut it in half or divide by 2. So if I'm finding 50% of 180, I'm just taking 180, cutting it in half, or rather dividing by 2, same difference, and it would be 90. For 25%, I would use the 50, or you can divide by 4, because it is a quarter. But I only would divide by 4 if it is divisible by 4. Otherwise, I divide it in half and then half again. So if I cut it in half and then half again, because 25% is half of 50%, that works. So 25% of 70, I would cut it in half, get 35, cut that in half, I'd get 17.5. The 25% of 36, because 36 is divisible by 4, if I divide it by 4, that's supposed to be a 9. So you can add that on there. 1%. 1% is not a lot. Sometimes you'll see those credit cards where they'll say they'll give you some cash back, 1%, 2%. So let's say you have a credit card and you spend $525, and you're going to get a whole 1% back. 1%, you have to move the decimal 2 places. So that's really $5.25. So great if you can pay your credit card off, but then you can't pay that $525 off. Was it really worth the $5.25? Because now they're going to charge you about 18 or 20% interest on that $5.25, and you're going to be paying a lot more money on that credit card. So you got to be careful with those types of things, because 1% is not a lot. 5%. You can do this 2 different ways. I usually do the 10% and cut it in half. So if I find 10% of 60, I'd get 6, cut it in half, that would be 3. So 5% is only 3. The other way would be to do the 1%, move it 2 to the left, and then times by 5. I don't like that, because then I'm dealing with decimals. But if you move this 2 to the left, you get 0.6, times it by 5, and you still get 3. But I don't like dealing with the decimals. That's why I like to do 10% and then cut it in half. 15%. This is a standard tip. If everything's just okay, 15% is usually a standard tip when you eat out. So finding a 15%, I usually find 10 and then cut that in half to find the 5, and I add them together. So let's say that my bill eating out was 40. I would find 10%, move it 1, right? That's 4. And then cut the 4 in half to get the 5, that's 2. And then I would add the 2 together to get 6. and that's how I do my 15%. Typically when I go out though, I'll go closer to the 20% because it's a lot quicker for me to move it one decimal place and double it for the 20%. But those are finding percents mentally. Flip your paper over. Next we have weighted averages. This is what I do. I weight your grade, and it's 70-30. It's a little different than what's up on here. I used to do homework quizzes separate, and that ended up bringing some grades down, so I switched it to just tests and homework. So tests are 70% for me right now, and homework is 30%. But we're going to use what I have up above on the weighted part, saying that I weight tests at 50%, homework quizzes at 20%, homework at 30%. So this means that if you added up all your points in my class, it wouldn't come out to what it says on there because the weighted average is slightly different. So the steps to finding the final grade using weighted averages. The first thing you would have to do is add student scores. So add student scores. And make sure you pause anytime you need to catch up with the writing. So I go down below and I'm going to add up all the students' scores. So I'm going to add them for you since we're not doing this together. So I go through Jenny's scores and I add it up and she gets 67. I go down Joe's scores for homework grades and he gets 78. I add up Brian's and he gets 85. Jenny's scores at 79. Joe add these quiz scores, 84. Brian's quiz scores are 87. Over here, Jenny's test grades are 74. Joe's test grades are 88. And Brian's are 92. So we added up all the scores. That's step one. And for your homework, it's going to look a lot like this in the chart so that you'll do these steps as well there. All right, step two, we're going to find percent for each category. Okay? So to find the percent, you just do your top divided by bottom times 100, and we're going to round to a whole percent. So if I do 67 divided by 80 times 100, that will round to 84%. 78 divided by 80 times 100 is 98%. 85 divided by 80 times 100, yep, must have been some extra credit, because if you have more than the total possible, you will have more than 100%. All right, so we're just going to fill in the rest of the percent. 75, 80, 83%. These ones are easy because they're out of 100, so I don't even have to divide those. 74 out of 100 is 74%. 88%, 92%. Now we're ready for step three. We're going to turn weights, that's these percents up here, the 50% on tests, 20% homework quizzes, and 30% homework. We're going to turn the weights into decimals and multiply by each category. Okay, so my weights are my first one is homework, or tests are 50%, so 0.5. Quizzes are 20%, so 0.2. And homework is 30%, so 0.3. So this one, right, homework 0.3. Quizzes 0.2, test 0.5. So for each one of these, we're going to multiply the percent, excuse me, the percent times the weighted decimal. So for Jenny, we're going to do, so for each one, we're going to have what? Homework plus quiz plus test. And I'm only going to write that one time. So her, Jenny's homework was the 0.3 for homework times 84. Then we're going to go on to Jenny's quiz, which is 0.2 for quizzes times 75. Then we're going to go to Jenny's test, which is 0.5 weight times 74 for the grade. You can type all of this into the calculator just like this. You don't have to use the parentheses, you can use a times there. So 0.3 times 84 plus 0.2 times 75 plus 0.5 times 74. Since your calculator does order of operations, if you want to try it, go ahead. I will round this also to the nearest whole percent, which would be 77. So her grade would be 77, which is a C. For Joe, 0.3 for homework times his 98 on the homework, plus 0.2 for quizzes times his 80% grade on quizzes, plus 0.5 of a weight plus his 88, or times his 88 for the tests. Type all of that in. It comes out to 89.4%, which would be 89%. Brian's overall grade, 0.3 times the 106, plus the 0.2 times Brian's grade of 83% for quizzes, times a weight of 0.5 times his 92 test grade. Type all of that in, it comes out to 94.4%. All right, let's look at the homework. This is going to be 6-6 plus it's going to have the review. 6-6 I will stamp tomorrow. And we will check in class. The review on the back, when you're done with it, I want you to check those answers online on Google Classroom. So that's already checked, and then you'll know which questions you want to ask when you come into class tomorrow. All right, so the top part of 6-6 is finding them mentally. So look at the sheet we just did that's already filled in to help you with the mental math. There's a couple of tricky ones. The 75%, there's a couple ways you can do that. You can do 25% and triple it. So that would mean 25%, you cut it in half again, and then triple it. That's a good way to do that. You could find 10% and times 80 here, so be creative with some of the tougher ones. The other ones are all on your sheet with how to do them. Here I've got my test grades at 60%, quizzes at 30, and homework at 10, so make sure you turn those into decimals first, and then follow the directions on that we did, those steps that we did on our notes. To find the overall grades for Lynn, Billy, and Kelly. So it'll look just like your notes, everything on there. So you're showing your work, everything in the table, and then the actual sentences down there, the number sentences. All right, flip it over. This is the review for your quiz tomorrow. Express each ratio or rate as a fraction in simplest form. So if you want to turn them into fraction form, you can. Remember, you have to have two numbers, so you don't want any mixed numbers or whole numbers. Simplifying each fraction ratio. Remember, a ratio is a comparison of two numbers by division. So if you just turn that into a division problem, keep change flip, and then go ahead and solve that, and make sure, again, no whole numbers, no mixed numbers. It needs to stay improper if it comes out improper. You want the better by, so if you find the unit rate for each one, you've got the $1.25 for 15, or for 20 rather. Sorry, and you have the $1.09 for 15. So find the unit rate, how much it is per pencil, and see which one's the better buy. These ones you're setting up proportions, right? So you got your 3 pounds for $2.50, and when you set up your proportion, make sure you have pounds and N dollars in the same spot, okay? Express each decimal as a percent, then as a fraction. So make sure you do percent and fraction for those. Turn each fraction into a percent, then turn it into a decimal. That's from 6-4. Those are fairly easy. Don't forget that these ones here, your percent proportion is your is over of equals percent over 100. Show the proportion and the equation. Down here, how many square feet of flooring is needed to cover the entire living room floor? You need to know that the living room is 4 by 2 inches. So you first have to find the actual length and width, right, with a proportion for each one. And then you have to find the area if it wants to know for flooring. So once you have the actual length and width, then remember area is just length times width. And there will be a question like this on the quiz tomorrow. All right, when you are done with the 6.1 to 6.5 review, make sure you check it on your own. The answers are on Google Classroom, but complete it first and then check it to see how you did. I will stamp and we will check 6.6 tomorrow in class. So that one won't have an answer key on it because we'll do that one in class after I stamp it. All right, good luck.